There's been chaos at the border over the past few years, especially now that Title 42 has expired. That happened back in May. And now Border Patrol Chief Raul Ortiz is set to step down from his role. So where do we stand now and what comes next? I'm joined by Washington Examiner Homeland Security reporter Anna Giaritelli. She's been down at the border over 50 times. So Anna, Title 42 expired just weeks ago. Can you tell us about the current state at the border right now?
The current state at the border, I think, is nothing that Republicans and Democrats expected. I mean, Republicans were warning, don't end Title 42 because it means you can't immediately turn people away. You're going to have to take everyone into custody. And they were expecting 13,000 to 18,000 people taken into custody daily. Instead, what we've seen over the last 3 weeks is 3,000 to 4,000 people being apprehended daily. It's significantly lower than in the weeks leading up to Title 42 ending. And really, the Biden administration is taking a lap and saying that its policies were to thank for kind of getting the border in order for the first time in over 2 years.
You just talked about how many are being apprehended daily, but do you know how many migrants are coming into the country? Do we have numbers on that?
Well, now we're seeing about 1/3 of the number of people who are apprehended. So say 15,000, about an additional 5,000 people are what we consider gotaways. So there are people that are seen on Border Patrol's cameras, radars, sensors, all different types of technology, evading authority and unable to be arrested because Border Patrol is busy doing other things. And so those are additionally people who got away. And then, of course, there's also people who you don't see who are getting into the country and then getting away.
So then what comes next for Border Patrol once Ortiz leaves, and who's going to take over that position?
Border Patrol Chief is an interesting position because it's not a political position, whereas the Department of Homeland Security is a nominee who gets Senate confirmed. Customs and Border Protection is the same. They haven't had a confirmed leader in almost 2.5 years now that President Biden has been in office. So it's going to be up to Alejandro Mayorkas, the Secretary of DHS, to, with Customs and Border Protection, select someone. We expect it to be someone within Border Patrol. I spoke with 10 senior agents on Wednesday who shared with me that they think it's going to be Gloria Chavez. She's a Latina, currently in Texas, running the busiest sector on the southern border. But then folks at DC headquarters for Border Patrol say it's not going to be her, it's going to be someone else. So we're waiting to see, who the Biden administration is going to select. And this person could be in the rest of Biden's time in office and could continue on into the next term for whoever is president.
And speaking of the Biden administration, have their efforts to bolster border security after Title 42 been successful or not?
Christy, they do appear to be successful, right? By those numbers going from 11,000 people crossing in the days leading up to Title 42 ending on May 11th, now down to 3,000, 4,000 per day. The Biden administration had said you need to use these lawful pathways that they've created. So it's getting an appointment with border officials, not just coming across. It's talking to them. It's using processes like humanitarian parole to get released into the country through a port of entry where you or I would drive across instead of coming across illegally. And the Biden administration has also boosted the number of flights. It's deporting people back to their countries when they do cross illegally. Of course, people still are being released into the United States. Well over 1.5 million people have been released into the country since Biden took office. Fewer than 30,000 have been bused across the country by Texas Governor Greg Abbott. So it's really barely making a dip in the bucket, given how many people are already in the country and where we go from here.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask you. Where do we go from here? What is the border going to look like over the next 2 years?
Border Patrol officials tell me right now at headquarters that they're waiting to see how the cartels are going to react, because when President Trump took office, we saw a 45-year low in the number of apprehensions. It was down to 15,000 to 20,000 in a month. And right now, under President Biden, we've seen 150,000 to 250,000 a month. So I say that to say that the cartels realized a couple months into President Trump's tenure, he hasn't actually changed any policy, so we can continue to use the policies that we've had. Cartels continue to exploit the same policies until Trump finally changed them later on in his administration. What that means for the Biden administration is the cartels right now are probably testing out, sending different demographics of people over, sending women over to see if they get released from certain countries, sending families over to see if they get released, sending, single men from unusual countries over to see what happens to them. And then based on that, that's going to inform who they want to recruit to pay them to get smuggled into the United States, because they have a better chance of knowing those people will get released. Other people who want to get into the country and would get removed, those people are still going to come. They're still going to pay to get smuggled, through different methods that don't involve them surrendering to Border Patrol, but going around to avoid apprehension.